Wednesday's Guardian up next, and troubling reports out of China. Scott, do you have the details here?
Thousands of detained Uyghurs pictured in leaked Xinjiang police files. Apparently documents detailing a shoot-to-kill policy for people who try to escape are published as UN human rights chief visits the region. These details date back to 2018, where they were hacked by Dr. Adrienne Zenz, a US-based scholar and activist, who shared them with international media. And there are photographs of detained people and details of, again, a shoot-to-kill policy. And this person from the UN is visiting now. She's the former Chilean president. Her name, I had it circled here because I've never heard of her. And I'll find, Bachelet, if I pronounced that properly. And she's the first top UN human rights diplomat to visit China since 2005. And she's on a mission to see if the details she's seen are accurate and correct. But they're afraid that she'll get some sort of, tourist tour of the area, not shown any reality at all.
Of course she will, because, I mean, inevitably, and in this case, as ever, China and the Chinese government is saying this is disinformation.
That has been hyped up.
They will just deny and deny. The human rights abuses in China are terrible. With forced abortions, they've got more executions than all other countries put together. I mean, should we be surprised, Leo?
No, I mean, it's shocking, but the more details that come out, the more we're sort of seeing the scale of it. I mean, it's already been referred to as a genocide by the United States. I think other countries are sort of wary of actually labelling it that, but I mean, the details that are coming out, it's on a mass scale, internment, rape,
forced labour, sterilisation.
And also Western companies that enter into contracts with the Chinese government for labour to produce things in factories. It's Uyghur Muslims who are producing it. So we're in the West. All these woke companies are using slave labour in China. It's absolutely insane. And for some reason, the woke left. I don't know if it's because it's been the Chinese government's communist, so they feel some affinity with the Chinese government. But the woke left say nothing about it.
So riddle me this: why do they not? All these anti-racist organisations, they talk about all sorts of human rights abuses, but they don't ever mention this. This actually gets very little coverage, given the extent of the horror that's going on.
Well, the Chinese government's response might be a reason, because they say this is an FBI plot. It's a coup by the FBI to bring down the Chinese government, that none of it's real, that they did extend some quite severe measures at first a few years ago when they were anti-terrorist measures, when they thought the Uyghurs were terrorists. They'd heard reports locally that they were combining to take over the government. So the Chinese government stepped in, did what they said any government would do. They quelched the misbehavior, and then they put some of them in detainment camps to retrain them. Now, of course, all of this may be untrue. The problem is these companies and corporations you're discussing never get real facts from the Chinese government. They're famously private about it.
Of course, but you would be if you were perpetrating terrible human rights abuses. Yes, but is it not the case that China is just a country that is too powerful, economically powerful, for people to want to challenge it?
Or that we're all complicit because all of us want our denim at 40 pounds a pair. But that's what these companies make, and that's how they produce it.
I think Russia has shown that the West can turn its back on, it doesn't matter the size of the country. We can turn our back on a country and find our energy or our labour from somewhere else.
The Russian economy is 1/40 of that is China's. We can turn our back on Russia and freeze almost to death in the winter. That's a sacrifice we're willing to make. But again, we want our cashmere V-necks. I mean, I think people don't realize how much of an economy that China.
But there are other countries. There's Taiwan. There's Taiwan. There's Bangladesh. India. All these democratic or certainly freer countries.
But none of them quelch personal rights quicker and more expediently than the Chinese.
Yeah.
Taiwan is, by the way, not, as far as the U.S. government is concerned, they've announced recently, part of China. And I think Biden is making a bid there to move some companies there. That's what his statement yesterday was about.
Well, It sounds like, as usual, human rights can go hang when it comes to financial expediency, unfortunately.
Nice blazer, host.
I made this myself.